All right, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We are on episode, whatever episode it is. I don't even know anymore. I've lost count, but we're back. We took a little bit of a hiatus.
Guess who's back?
Back. We took a little bit of a hiatus because
you said to be myself.
I've been traveling. I was traveling for work quite a bit since mid-June-ish, almost the start of June. And I missed both Austrians as well as the French Grand Prix.
But you watched the second Austria with me.
Yeah.
We just didn't log on to social media.
Yeah, we watched it when I got back. But the French Grand Prix, I was in California.
Way to flex.
And
he was in Tahoe.
Hashtag humble brag.
He was in Tahoe.
No, it was the wedding was a Saturday, and I kind of actually half fell asleep through it on Sunday.
I know.
It was really hard because I got up early, and I watched the Grand Prix in the morning in the hotel, and then I actually had to fly back to Chicago the same day. So it was like a really tiring day. So I caught that in Cali. Priya watched it here, and then the Styrian, I was in Canada, and I watched it with. I watched a little bit of it with mom and dad. They were there. My parents are. They watch F1 with me a little bit.
That's great. Cam left me for 3 weeks.
Dude.
By myself.
I had to make the monies.
You have to
pay that man his money.
No. See, he talks about like how he left and we weren't able to do the podcast and stuff, but
we were going to do it.
He left me by myself for 3 weeks, which if any person is married or has a significant other that they see
it
on
is
the general,
okay
on the general,
but the whole point, to be honest,
yes.
I generally don't leave for work for that amount of time without coming home. I usually honestly, because like weddings are between weekends, so it's like they're on the weekend, so I can come home between them, but the travel restrictions with COVID have forced me to, like, unfortunately. I mean, if you're a client watching this, you know the sacrifice I have to make for that.
We love it.
I spend like weeks away from home to shoot these weddings.
That's
but
okay.
That was the case because
just
of
get
COVID,
me a dog or something.
and I had to stay home in Toronto or be away from home here in Chicago, and
home is where the wife is.
Back in Toronto for well, you know.
And the tacos are.
Yeah.
No,
Toronto's always going to be my home.
I know. And then you know, Cam doesn't ever mention it, but my job's been really busy too.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal. I just save lives.
Just
and
healthcare
stuff.
worker. Just putting a life on the line. So that's why. Or if not, I would have come home. I would have been home, and we would have done the podcast. But for that reason, like we were thinking about doing like a whole Zoom thing, but I was like, life was just crazy hectic, and I was just busy there, and Priya was obviously busy here with her job and everything. So I was
holding down the fort.
We never just got around to it. And the reason why I'm able to record this and have the audio and everything is because like this is all my equipment that I use for weddings. So obviously when I travel, I have to take it all with me as well. So there's no like recording equipment here for Priya to use either. So we figured, you know what, instead of like doing some whatever like podcast like over Zoom and make it like really difficult, I was like, we'll just come home and we'll do like a full recap of like the past 4 races. So the races that we are going to be talking about today are the French Grand Prix, the Styrian, the Austrian, and the British, which just happened yesterday.
Welcome back.
So that's very fresh. Good
it's
to
nice
be back.
It's nice to
and
have
it was
you
my
back.
birthday, and I got a Redbull Racing sweatshirt. I'm so happy. I'm gonna wear this everywhere.
Who got that for you?
My wife.
She's got good taste.
Yeah, my wife's the best.
Yeah.
So I got this
really
Redbull
cool jersey.
Yeah, and it's not a jersey, but it's a sweatshirt.
It's a sweatshirt, sorry.
And it's got this. Is this the one? Okay. It's got this on the back. The back is like this. Look at this. If you're watching, you only see that if you're on YouTube. And
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's got this really cool. It says like Red Bull and stuff. Well, I haven't even like looked at it and read it, but it says like Red Bull and like all this crazy graffiti. This is so dope. So thank you, my lover.
You're welcome.
For getting me
You're welcome.
the sweatshirt.
You're so welcome. I love getting. I can never get Cam gifts because frankly, like that's just not the kind of person that we are.
Yeah.
But I saw it. I mean, he saw it too, and we knew that he really wanted it.
But you know what happened is I was telling you this. I was I was flying back from Sacramento to Chicago, and I was going through security, and there was a guy wearing the Red Bull actual team jersey going through security.
We gotta get you one of those.
And I was like, yo, I like went up to him, and this was the day the race happened. So he was wearing a Red Bull jersey. Verstappen won the race, obviously. And I just went up to him, and I was just like, yo, like, did you see the race? And he's like, yeah, da-da-da. And we had like a quick little like chat about it and everything and whatever. But I was like, yo, that's so cool. That's like, you know, and I just thought about it. I was like, yo, I should like wear some Red Bull merch. Like if I'm walking around somewhere, somebody might, you know, you could just connect with people and talk to them about F1. You know, it's a lot of fun.
And then a week later, it was your birthday, and then you got it.
Yeah, so I was like, oh man, this was awesome. I'm so happy to get this.
We gotta get you more merch.
I'm glad we gotta get you merch too.
We'll get me merched up.
Mercedes or?
And we're back.
Which sweatshirt would you like?
Screwed.
Well, we'll get you Williams. We'll get you Williams sweatshirt. That's right.
Lando or nothing.
Lando or nothing, eh?
I like, he's my like little friend, you know, and look
McLaren's
how amazing he's doing. And I called it. And I'm gonna, you know, I'm not a very immodest person. Like I feel like I'm pretty humble.
No, you've been definitely
but I've been
on point.
On. And everybody that asked me about it at work, and by everybody I mean like 2 people, I have a vision in mind for Lando, and he's fulfilling it. He's made his home, he's made his nest at McLaren, and we've seen it time and time again all through the season, and we've seen it through the last 4 races. He just keeps delivering, and for that reason, I'm still going to stand by him, even though he, gosh, poor guy was like mugged before the race, the Great Britain race.
Yeah.
But we'll get to all of that.
Britain's kind of hood.
So, I know, I've been there.
Britain's kind of hood.
I've been there. So, just as a quick recap, so we are going to kind of fly through as much as we can France, Austria. We are going to get to Great Britain, which is Silverstone. We saw that yesterday, and it's got a lot to talk about. So if you're here for our conversation about Great Britain and Silverstone, you probably are going to need to wait at least a couple of minutes before we get there, if not more.
Not a couple minutes. We'll just go through everything, I guess, kind of sequentially, right?
But
would that make sense?
Yes.
So
thank you, Cam.
So to recap, the races were France, 2 Austrians, which is the Styrian and the Austrian as they named them.
I got my notes.
And then we have the British Grand Prix that just happened, which we talked about. So I guess like France. You want to just start with France. So
yeah. France, like...
So France yet again, I guess. We had Verstappen start on pole, right? Hamilton in second, Bottas in third, Perez, Sainz, Gasly, Leclerc, Norris didn't really qualify that well in this race in particular, Alonso, and then Riccardo in 10th.
It's not about where you qualify.
It's
where you end on the race.
That's your top 10, you know?
Yeah.
But trying to like just set up the conversation, you know?
Yeah, we're very aggressive today.
Great, thank you, dude.
We've been sassy all day. So to start with, like, you know, and this is interesting because it does kind of mirror Silverstone a little bit, but Max went wide just at the beginning, and Lewis took handle of the race, you know, and I found that really interesting because I couldn't, and we were watching the replay back, I couldn't remember, was it the car? Because I know that Red Bull was having issues with the car. Even qualifying in France, Max was just like, I'm not feeling great about the car. Like, I'm happy you qualified first, but he didn't feel great about the car. So I was a little surprised and not surprised that he went wide to start. So of course, like, Lewis took advantage of the race.
Yeah.
But the undercut's always strong, you know? And so he was able to make up.
Not always.
Well, fine. It was strong in this case.
The undercut's always strong.
I feel like I need to get you a shirt. What is it that you always say to me? The undercut is strong, and then you always say something else.
No, what they say in the thing is, so the undercut is not always strong, first of all. It's a strategy. Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what they say, like commentary-wise, they say the undercut is powerful.
Is powerful.
They use that on the radio too, right? Yeah. But it's not. It doesn't always work. Sometimes people try to undercut and it doesn't work. In this case, it was.
So the undercut was strong here.
Yeah.
It was really interesting though to see their strategy because I feel like Red Bull has just not gotten their strategy right so many times with Lewis.
The tire strategy?
Yeah, their tire strategy, that it was nice to see everything kind of come alive for Max.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he had a hiccup at the beginning, and yes, he's still learning to be a great driver, but even with the car maybe not being optimal, he managed to secure P1.
What?
Max. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're just done that recap then.
No.
Go straight to the result.
Yeah, but that's like the biggest thing, I feel like, about that race.
I mean, not really.
One of the biggest things.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah.
What other thing?
Verstappen won. I guess that's it.
Well, so
So I guess I was even just gonna start with qualification, like how they all lined up. We had Verstappen, Hamilton, and Bottas. This has been pretty consistent throughout the entire thing, but it's been like Verstappen and Hamilton, and then Bottas sometimes. Perez qualifying on 4th, which is where he should be, with that car for sure. And then we had Sainz come up into 5th, which was a little odd because it wasn't Leclerc. Usually we see Leclerc outperform Sainz there. Leclerc came in 7th, and then Norris qualified 8th, which is, given the year he's been having, it's a little uncharacteristic of him. I guess he struggled a little bit. And then Riccardo in 10th, which is like a pretty good improvement, right? Because Riccardo's been struggling in the McLaren for quite a bit. But, as the race progressed, we saw Lando with some really great, overtakes in France, for sure. So, it's been really interesting because he's been racing, incredibly well. Yeah. He's having, a really, really good year. And it's really good to see that. And you called that initially with Norris, that, you said he was going to do really well. At the very start of the year, he was your dark horse. I called Perez, and that is and isn't happening at the same time. He's just not consistent. Yeah, he's not able to completely pull it off, but he is showing the flashes of brilliance there. He's consistent with the ability to come from behind, just not always in the points and not always just consistently show results like he did in Austria. Yeah. So, I mean, like you were saying, I guess the next big talking point is Red Bull with the tire strategy on Lewis. So they decided, and usually you see Mercedes do this, but they decided this time to go for the undercut on Lewis. And at least when I've been watching races, I've always noticed that whoever pulls off the undercut generally comes out on top, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like. I always see it. I feel like every race I watch where, well, it works only if, obviously you got to do the pit stop correctly. And then obviously safety cars can come into play because that can completely knock out your undercut because all the cars get bunched up. And thirdly, you have to be banking on the fact that the driver you're trying to undercut is actually going to do a pit stop. Yep. So it comes if all those things go well, you should, but then again, the safety car is a huge question mark. But actually in this case, you're right because Lewis didn't pit. Yeah. Lewis didn't pit, and Max still won with the undercut. Yeah. Because what ended up happening in this case... Yeah, that is true. That is true. Because you have to rely on the fact that the new tires are going to... last you until the end and get you to the end. And get you, make you quicker too, right? So being on older tires... Because what's the other thing you always say? What? Passing is... No, that's not me. That's an actual quote from a driver. Catching is one thing. Catching is one thing. Passing is another. That's from if somebody knows who said that quote, there is a famous driver, or I think driver or commentator said that. Yeah. Which is entirely the case, man. And that was the case here. Yeah. So, that was crazy to see Verstappen swap out the tires, which I was thank God, make a move. That whole race, I was make a move. Yeah. On Lewis, and he did. He got the undercut. And he on the second pit stop, and he was out. I remember it was Lewis was coming down the straight, and they released Verstappen out of the pits, and he got out ahead of him.
No, so this time, in France.
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Sorry, I
In
read
France,
my notes wrong.
What happened is Verstappen came out of the pits, got past Bottas, which is easy to do at this point. Bottas was very ticked off because his tires, they didn't change.
So yeah, that's a whole nother thing on this own that we should go into.
And then Verstappen got to past Bottas. Perez got past Bottas because he was a sitting duck and he was ticked because nobody would change his tires and listen to him. And then shortly, it was lap 52 of 53 where Verstappen passed Lewis, and the reason
it was like 1.5 laps left.
The reason is because Lewis, the undercut was very powerful, right? Because Max was able to get to the end of the race on great tires,
fresher tires than Lewis,
haul ass, pardon my language, and then catch Lewis and then pass him. And that was because not only were Max's tires properly preserved, but Lewis had no tire left basically, and couldn't defend.
Well, if he pit, he would have lost, right? They decided, they hit him with the undercut, and then they were just kind of like, they had to deal with that obviously, but it wasn't like enough, right? To have him defend against Verstappen. And quite honestly, like, we're dealing with a year where the Red Bull car is faster than Mercedes hands. It just is.
And I have to actually understand Mercedes' strategy here, because there's been two things, right? So Lewis sometimes will say, oh my gosh, my tires are going, and then he pulls out this like magic energy. Yeah. Also, Lewis is great at preserving his tires. He really is. Like, that's something I have to give to him.
He ain't no Perez, though.
So he's not. But I have to give that to him because I think Mercedes deep down was also like, if he can, because Hamilton's done that before, he can somehow make it to the end, maybe it'll just be worth it. And there have been cases like that where, Hamilton's just been able to do a one-stop where everyone else does a two-stop and somehow pull it through. So I commend Mercedes for trying, but to be honest, they had no choice once Max tried to pull the undercut. They were sitting ducks until the end. Had it been a 52 lap race, Hamilton would have won, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I'm sure if it was, there would have been a different strategy on Red Bull's side too, though.
Yeah.
To make sure he got there. But yeah, like, Bottas got on the radio and was pissed because he got passed by Perez.
Yep.
And he was like swearing at them, like, yo, I told them to do a two-stopper. Why didn't they do a two-stopper? Mm-hmm. And he got passed by Perez, They stopped Hamilton.
And Verstappen,
right?
Yeah.
They did a two-stop on Hamilton, right? He was just too late. But Bottas, they didn't do a two-stopper. And the guy was, he was telling them to two-stop him. Mm-hmm. And this kind of comes down to the whole, like, conspiracy theory thing that we were talking about of, like, how Mercedes is handling Bottas completely different than Hamilton. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. Like, people...
Why?
No, just let me finish my point. Like, I feel like it's so blatant that they treat Bottas, like, completely differently than Lewis. And I don't know why it's not, like, talked about even more. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why it's just, like, it's so clear to me. The guy's asking to be put on the same strategies as Lewis because they clearly give Lewis the strategies that get him, if not to the podium, like on the top of the podium, and they're just not doing it for Bottas. And it's just like... Do
you want to hear my theory?
Go.
Bottas is on the way out. Russell is going to be replacing him. He knows that it's like he's fighting and he's screaming and he's a child throwing a tantrum, and frankly, his parents are putting up for him for
why are they hindering his performance?
Because the thing is like, Lewis is a strong...
Are they trying to screw his career? Is that what you think is happening?
I think that they don't think... You have to understand the perspective. You're only thinking of it as like helping his career versus screwing his career in the mindset of what you believe his career is. He might believe his career is to be a world champion, but what his career is in Mercedes' mind is to be second place. So if they're saying, if they're in their mind, they are looking at him as the person to help push the world champion forward and push Mercedes to the top of the constructors, then that is all that they're doing. They're not They want to see Bottas finish, and they want to see when Lewis doesn't do well, they want to see Bottas come in. But
if Lewis is doing well, then you can sit back and chill out. Yeah.
And just hold off Perez or hold off Lando or hold off whomever. And even when he doesn't do that, they're like, that's okay because Lewis got P1. And that kind of P1 is all they really care about. Everything after that is like whatever.
You know what? And you know what it is too? Is like they swapped the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton... Was that it? Was I right about that?
No, not on this one. You're thinking of Daniel, Riccardo, and Lando Norris switched places in this one.
Yeah.
You're thinking about Austria, I believe. But Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, which was a good thing, they switched places. We have seen, not done a podcast on, but we have seen Ferrari do that, especially last year with, Leclerc and Vettel doing that in a way that just didn't make any sense. But this specific switch, Daniel and Norris, made a lot of sense. But we've seen it time and time again. Whenever Bottas could challenge Lewis, it's been almost thwarted unless Lewis has a known mechanical or tire problem.
Or they have Bottas chase him for like 10 laps. Like, just be behind him instead of springing him.
Yeah.
Right? They let him just sit there, and then they're like, well, okay, yeah, go for it. Right?
I'll be honest, I just don't believe in Bottas as a driver right now, as a racer, because I feel like when he starts in P3, he ends in P3. When he starts in P2, he might end in P3, P4. Like, he doesn't gain. He either maintains or regresses. I just don't feel like he's strong.
Of his team.
No, I think it is. I think that
I think they hold him back a little bit.
I think that him as a strategist, as a driver, has been hindered because he's been behind Lewis his entire career.
Yeah. No, I don't think. I think they are hindering him. If I'm going to be totally honest, I think they are like. I think there can only be one winner in races, And I think Mercedes, to a certain level, incrementally, I think they make incremental changes to each driver, and they favor Lewis on the increments that will, get you into first place.
100%. I mean, it's not.
And I think Bottas is very skilled, but are they giving him the same, push that they give Lewis? I don't think so.
No,
I think they're giving him enough to get him onto podiums, but I don't think strategically they're like, let's get Bottas in first place. They say their strategy is Lewis needs to win first place every race, and Bottas, if he does happen to outperform him, okay, like maybe we'll push him a little further, but our priority is getting Lewis first, and if we can get the 1-2 Mercedes with Bottas in second. It's never, Bottas first, Lewis second. It's always going to be Lewis first, Bottas second.
I think it's very clear. It's clear on their Instagram, their social media. It's clear in the way that they speak to him. It's clear in the strategies that they give him. I mean, I don't know why it's not talked about more, but it's very blatant. People even comment on it on social media that you might see 8 pictures of Lewis, but you see maybe 1 or 2 of Bottas, and that's truly because you don't see that on like McLaren as much. Yeah, you see a lot of Lando because Lando has outperformed Daniel, but they still do push him. You know what I mean? They do push him.
Yeah.
Leclerc and Sainz, even though Leclerc has been a shoo-in for Ferrari, Sainz has pushed just as much. The only other place that I see this as much is going to be like George Russell with Williams and Latifi with Williams, and I think it's interesting because if George Russell goes to Mercedes, I anticipate a clash. I don't feel that he is going to be okay playing the bridesmaid.
I think once he does go to Mercedes, though, Lewis will retire.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's actually going to work. I don't think Lewis Hamilton sticks around.
Bottas could be gone next year. You don't know it, and Lewis is already signed.
Yeah, Lewis signed an extension, so he's sticking around.
2 years.
But
Bottas hasn't signed yet.
Yeah, I would be really interested. Imagine if we see like something where like, I would love to see Bottas go to like a competitive team, like maybe a Ferrari if they get their stuff together, or maybe McLaren. I don't know where they shift Lando and Ricciardo, but in theory, like imagine if they shift him. Because I have a feeling if you send Bottas to like Red Bull, in theory, let's say Perez goes somewhere else or retires, and then they send Bottas there. I think he'd be more inclined because then he's just going to be playing second fiddle to Verstappen. I think he wants to go into like a leading role in a team where he's like, where they're treating him equally and actually, he's being pushed to to win and do well there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I can't wait for the next seasons of Drive to Survive and everything, because that's going to be interesting.
So France basically obviously ended with Max winning, and then of course Lewis, Bottas.
We had Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez,
Norris,
Bottas,
Riccardo.
Norris, and Riccardo.
So McLaren did great, and they are just pulling away from the Ferrari in terms of the constructors. They're just the third team. They're getting, that gap is just improving so much in McLaren's favor.
Yeah.
So on to Austria Part 1, Styria.
So Styrian. So on Styrian we had the starting grid be Verstappen, Hamilton. So Verstappen again. He was on a bit of a tear at this point. So Verstappen on pole, Hamilton second, Norris.
Yep. Crazy.
Getting on P3, starting third on the grid, Perez in fourth, and then Bottas in fifth.
Before we go on from that, Riccardo doesn't make it out of Q2. I don't know if you remember watching Quali.
Yeah.
He doesn't make it out of Q2, and this is the beginning of just like the middle of Riccardo being like not good. I don't know. Have you seen the social media posts lately about
really.
Riccardo? So Daniel has made kind of a couple of statements about how he doesn't want to keep focusing on the fact that races haven't necessarily gone his way, although Great Britain did go his way. He was starting to feel like resentment towards the sport by being compared to Lando.
Yeah.
And that's like the first time I think I've heard Daniel open up to that since Verstappen. And just understand.
I was just going to say that too. I think he felt the same kind of thing with Verstappen.
And I think that Daniel is not realizing that just about anywhere he goes now, he's going to be second, because like Norris has signed, God knows, 3-year contract. He's set in. Leclerc is the Ferrari boy. Red Bull's got Verstappen. Lewis is with Mercedes, and likely will come, George Russell. Stroll is always going to be the top of his team, and Gasly as well. So you just have to understand, and Kimi and Giovinazzi, I don't even know if they have one person. I still think it's always Kimi, but it's just he didn't realize that he could have probably made routes for himself, and he missed out. And that kind of like, I don't know, I'll show you the post later, but he actually said, he's like, for now I'm just going to race, because he's 32, 33, and he's just he's not making world champion anytime soon.
Yeah. And it's weird to see that, because McLaren's a fast car.
Yeah. And he
just can't put it together.
And to think, and this is the part about F1 that I really wanted to bring up with you, is like, although these are the 20 best Formula One drivers we have right now, they're not all going to be, they all want to be champion.
Yeah, even though there's 20 best, there's only one number one.
There's only one number one, and in the last 7 years...
It's got to line up 1 to 20 in some order.
In the last 7 years, there's only been one. Yeah. And I can see Lando in the future becoming a champion. I can see Max in the present becoming a champion.
This year?
I still hope for it.
Yeah, I think so.
I still think he can do it. He's got to get it together. But
of course he can.
Yeah.
He's leading, right?
He's leading. But isn't that crazy to you to sometimes think, like, these people who've put their whole lives into it, like Vettel, obviously world champion, like, but
yeah, but that's a lot of sport. I mean, you have greats in different sports. I guess F1, because it's so individual, is you only really have one great. Because like you have like a LeBron, a Kobe, they are the greats, but there are also like other players who are like just as good and get arguably just as much as shine, like Kevin Durant's or Kyrie Irving's, like these kind of different ball players. But like in F1, it is very much just one guy.
Yeah.
It is very much just one person.
So sorry on that caveat. I felt like that was really one thing that stuck out to me towards Quali. And
I'm hoping he does find his stride though. I feel like he's showing that he's getting there. But I don't know if it's just, and I think we talked about this on a previous podcast, that he's just way too like goofy, and he's not taking it seriously enough. Because it's great to have personality and be that kind of guy, but if he had like the intensity of a Verstappen, I think he would really, it would do him well.
I think that with that said, that statement really came out to me in the last couple of weeks. I've seen him be more somber, and it's just but I don't think it's from a place of focus. I think it's from a place of like reluctance. So I always want to see where Daniel goes. I just it's crazy because people ask me so many times who I think is going to be world champion, and I love Daniel. I really think he's such a great person, but do I think he's just the best racer of all times? Absolutely not.
Probably not. So just one other thing is like Perez in this race was chasing Bottas all the way to the line, and he actually made up 19 seconds.
What a crazy...
almost caught him. Didn't make it, but he drove a hell of a race and made up a ton of time on Bottas, and I think if he had a few more laps, he would have definitely
half
taken
a second.
him. Yeah.
Half a second. If he had a lap more.
Yeah, he would have taken him. So that was good on Perez. And the very last thing is at the end of the race, and I don't know if you took notes on this or wanted to talk about it, but Verstappen won by like a dominant 30-second gap on Hamilton there. Obviously. And he did like a small burnout.
I knew you were going to bring it up.
At the line.
Yeah.
Right? He did a small burnout at the line, and no one was around him, He didn't even, it wasn't a spin, he slowed down and nailed the gas and spun the wheels and crossed the line. That's all he did. He was going straight, he didn't do anything else. That was it. And I think the stewards were really upset with him about that.
That's his home team. It was orange across the board.
His home race, he does a small little burnout at the line.
Where he did so poorly last year.
And he gets called in by the stewards, and they're like, that will never happen again. They talk to the team, and the team have made a statement, oh yeah, we're sorry, that'll never happen again. Why is it that your boy Verstappen is getting crap for something that was as harmless as that, but then you can have Lewis Hamilton do burnouts? Then again, okay, it was he did burnouts when he won the championship on the very last race.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna take that.
I know what you're gonna say too. But I just think it's dude, relax. The stewards on Verstappen, I feel the dude did a burnout. He won the race. It's
he won
pretty
his
hard.
Home race.
It's I'm not saying they should be doing stuff like that, but is it something you need to call him and be hey, don't ever do that again, make sure it never happens again kind of thing? Or can you just kind of tell him subtly, I don't know, just the way I heard it is they were saying that's a problem, don't ever do that again kind of thing.
So I have such a problem with this, and it's it's eating me in a way that I received a lot of comments yesterday in particular. I was so excited to be part of the Formula One community yesterday because I just love talking about Formula One. And while Cam I feel is very much a Max Verstappen fan. I have always respected Lewis, and not that Cam hasn't respected Lewis. He respects Lewis. We respect everything that he's done for his career, all of that stuff. I feel I have been a lot softer towards Lewis. I've got
I'm a Lewis fan.
Okay, let me finish though. I've got a very soft heart for him in the sense that my family's from England. I really I have a lot of love for what Mercedes has put into Lewis and what Lewis has put into Mercedes in a way that is less competitive than I think Cam is. But this is my problem. Yesterday during Silverstone, which we can get to, Lewis obviously won the race, and excluding all of the circumstances that occurred, he actually went off the track multiple occasions,
which is against the rules.
Commentators even said live is something that they were surprised he did, or that you're not supposed to do, and went off multiple times towards the fan the stage or the fan base area, the stands, and left the track multiple times. And from what I know of, because I actually did look into it today, haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah,
this is Silverstone, which I understand is big for a lot of drivers, but specifically for Lewis because it's his home race.
So Lewis is allowed to celebrate at his home track and doesn't hear a thing about that. And like the one thing they said is that they're like, it is a rule according to the FIA that you are not supposed to purposely leave the track at any point, which he did multiple times, waving a British flag, and that's great. And the thing is like a lot of people are gonna interpret this as like, oh, you hate on Lewis and da-da-da. I try to be as objective as I can when it comes to Formula One. And the thing is, I'm not like you were saying, because like you said, I'm a Verstappen fan. I'm a fan of all of these drivers, hands down. The reason why I just happen to root, I don't want anything bad to ever happen to any of them. I don't have any ill will towards any of the drivers. I think they're all amazing. I think what they do is all great. I love the sport of F1, period. I don't care which teams they're on, really. I just like Verstappen, quite honestly, because I recognize that he's an incredibly talented driver, and for the most part, maybe save this year, he doesn't have the best car, yet what he's able to do with that is like amazing to me. Yeah. And that's why that's why I like to wear like a Red Bull sweatshirt and like root for him, because I know that he is a bit of an underdog. And when he does win, it's because like he really pulls it off. And I just love seeing like that kind of like somebody rise from the, if Russell were to go from the Williams and start winning, I would be a huge George Russell fan.
As much as I am like a Lando fan.
Like Lando, I love seeing Lando. Yeah. If Lando started pulling off the wins, man, with his driver's skill, I would be rooting for Lando every race.
It's just hard because I feel like with Lewis, the rules are different.
But let me just finish what I was saying. So what I'm saying is like, I'm being objective, and when it comes to like the Lewis thing, driving across, the only reason I say that is because I just feel like the treatment should be unbiased and equal. If you're going to give one driver crap for doing something, you must give the other driver crap for doing the same thing. It sounds like kind of crazy for me to just say it, but like it's 100% true. If that guy breaks a rule, then that guy breaks a rule. You can't tell off one driver and not tell off the other. And I'm so confused as to why that happens. What were you going to say?
Yeah. I was just looking at my note and it said Ferrari sucked. That's all I got.
Any more thoughts on that burnout thing?
I am going to get back to it. I think that I'm going to let that marinate a little bit in my mind, and I really want to bring it up when we talk a little bit more about Silverstone, because it's something that I've been thinking a lot about for the last kind of day or so. But I agree with you. I respect these drivers, and I want to see them do well.
This is a serious podcast.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's like...
You got to loosen it up a little bit.
It's like raising kids. You don't want to treat one child, you don't want to give one child rules and you give the other child different rules, because it's just not fair to them. And I think that it's just not fair. Yeah. And it was something harmless, a small burnout, like not even like a crazy burnout, just that Max wanted to do. It was to show the appreciation to his fans. And if you can see an orange wave of Verstappen fans and not get that like swell of pride in your chest, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Well, let me play devil's advocate here, because now that I'm thinking about it, is like doing a burnout is very, because it's like Hamilton waving around a flag around a stadium is more so like catered to the fans and like the country. Versus doing a burnout is much more like doing a burnout even in a car, like in a regular car, if you're just on the road or something, is just kind of like posturing and like boasting, being like, yo, I got a sick car, like look at me. Like it's a little more of like a selfish act. Whereas if Verstappen, and just hear me out here, if Verstappen grabbed an Austrian flag and was driving around the track with it, I have a feeling they wouldn't say anything to him. So I mean, I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit, but maybe I understand why.
No, but that's not fair, because the thing is that you can show. So I'm gonna. It's kind of gonna be a long one, but like you can show your appreciation in different ways. Lewis shows his appreciation to England or to. he shows his appreciation to humans differently. He empowers a lot of verbiage. He empowers positive vibes. He empowers his social media. He invokes the use of a lot of different things to show his appreciation or to show his happiness or to communicate. Max is a very introverted person, at least on the track. He doesn't speak very much. He doesn't say, well, thanks to everyone on the team. Thanks for all the guys back in the factory. Thanks for this thing. But does that take away from the fact that he is thankful to his team? No. Everybody shows their team, their fans in different ways. Maybe Max isn't the kind of guy who holds a flag up to show appreciation. Maybe he's not the kind of guy who goes towards the stands because that's what Lewis does or that's what somebody else does. Do you see everyone waving at each other when they pass like Lando does?
So I guess what you're saying is like a celebration is a celebration, period.
As long as it's not impeding the safety of the drivers, which I personally feel that getting off the track and then on the track is kind of impeding the safety of the drivers.
It is, and I mean, you can kind of say because of burnout could be said. I mean, no one was around, but the same thing Lewis could say is everyone's driving slow and no one was really around him. But what you're saying kind of reminds me of that whole, like, I mean, this is it's a little bit of a stretch, but like, remember like Colin Kaepernick kneeling and protesting and people were like, well, protest, but don't protest that way. It's kind of like celebrate, but oh, you're not allowed to celebrate this way. Like a celebration involving your car and doing things that you are not really allowed is what both of them were doing. And one person got told off and one person didn't. But at the end, I guess the thing is like telling off is, I think, kind of strong because nothing was actually, there was no penalties given. He was just told by the stewards. They were just like, we didn't like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't really like you're going to get this penalty or this grid penalty or whatever, or lose points or whatever. They were just like, hey man, we didn't like that. And it was like a stern, we didn't like that. Like, don't do it again kind of thing.
And I just want to clarify, because I don't think you made it very clear with the Kaepernick issue with protesting. Like, that was something that, like, Cam and I both felt strongly about, that we, like, supported Kaepernick in his protest. And it was really heartbreaking to see that he got penalized for it. But then down the road, when Kaepernick would kneel, that was so long ago. Now, like, athletes are doing it, a bunch of people are doing it, and it has meaning, and it stinks because for him at the time, people weren't assigning the meaning to him. Same thing here, not same thing, but in the same breath, Verstappen should be able to celebrate safely with his fans.
Yeah.
However, if it's deemed not safe, then maybe we should also be telling the drivers how they can safely interact with their fans. I mean, it's been a long...
I don't really like go into the whole like Kaepernick situation or whatever it may be. I think everybody has a right to do whatever they want as long as it keeps people safe. I don't really have a stance on whatever. People have their own opinions about different things, and I think they're entitled to those things, but that's fine. Like, whatever he wants to do is up to him, and like, that's his choice. But when it comes to this, I think when it comes to like driver safety and everything, like I don't know. I mean, I don't know how the stewards work or what it is, but as far as I'm concerned, like, it was like kind of like a harmless, as far as I'm concerned, it was a harmless celebration versus another harmlous celebration. I feel like, and the NFL, since we're talking about the NFL, they did the same kind of thing. For a long time, they had outlawed touchdown celebrations. I don't know if you knew that or remember that. They outlawed them for the longest time, and then they brought them back, but like, you were not allowed to do any kind of celebrations. It wasn't like, oh, you can't do it about this or that.
Can't spike the ball.
Like, they were said absolutely nothing was allowed, and if you did do a celebration at the end, you were given a penalty, and that was just how it was. So
I just feel that there's a lot of blurred lines, and I think as we watch this, because maybe we're newer to it and we see it more blatantly, it's just kind of hard to watch sometimes. Just to kind of sum up Austria, though, poor Russell. I mean, he just had the most horrendous pit stop.
Are we on Styrian or Austrian?
Yeah, Styrian.
Okay.
Yeah, they had you just jumped straight to the end. But Russell had, a horrendous pit stop that rendered him out of the race.
Yeah.
And Gasly got smushed, and he was out of the race too, which stunk. So
Racing incident. That kind of crap. At least when races start, I'm always expecting somebody to go out like the first turn.
No, there was really no. He just got smushed. It wasn't. There was no room for him to.
Yeah, but
there was no room for anybody to give anyone. It was truly a racing incident.
I am honestly usually more shocked when at least one or two cars don't go out in the first turn. If all of them go through the first turn, I'm like, what the hell is happening? This is like unreal. So like, it's a shame that it happened to Gasly, but. What are you going to do, man?
The pit stops are like murdering everyone, though.
Yeah, and it's a shame with Russell, but we see it happen, It is what it is. But, I mean, it's kind of a, horrible thing to say, but you're in a Williams, man. Like, the pit stop, it's like you're going to end up, like, closer to the bottom of the grid anyway at the end of the race, right?
So we ended up as Max in P1, Lewis P2 with the fastest lap, so he took the point.
Yeah.
P3, Bottas, P4 by a half second behind Perez. And then, of course, our dark horse, Lando Norris in P5. So Austria first was not that, Styria was not that eventful, I want to say. But Austria, part 2.
Austria was a different story.
That's where stuff went down.
Hey, man.
What?
You ever watch Oprah? You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I think Oprah was one of the stewards.
Yeah.
Handing out penalties like they were friggin', free coffees on McDonald's coffee day.
It's so true.
Free coffees for everybody. Just come and get your free coffee.
Even if you don't want one. Even if you don't deserve it.
These guys, man. Jesus.
I think that Michael, Massi, and the FIA just had like way too much energy that day.
That was ridiculous. I don't know, man. Your boy George Russell.
Oh my God, Michael Massi's comments yesterday with Toto were so funny.
That reminds me of the meme. I sent Priya the meme of like Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, where he's like, one person called Michael Massi, the other person called Michael Massi. Like Toto calls Michael Massi and Christian calls Michael Massi because they're complaining about the whole Lewis and Verstappen thing. And I saw this meme about like where The Office, where Dwight is, or where what's his name? Jim is dressed up as Dwight, and then he's like Michael, and Dwight's like Michael. Like it was so funny. But anyway, but George Russell, man, getting into Q2.
It was a big deal. Ooh. It was a big deal.
That boy can drive. Straight up. That was huge for him, getting into Q2, pulling off like a pretty decent start there. And so good for him on that. That was really cool. So we started off with Verstappen. So quali, we started off Verstappen, Norris, your boy Norris.
Yeah.
In second on the grid, Perez. Okay. You notice anything weird, man? No Mercedes up in that.
Bottas.
Then we have Hamilton and Bottas starting in 4th and 5th in the Austrian Grand Prix.
I have to say, sorry guys, was that too fast? That was the line that Russell gave in quali. I died. I was like...
He was feeling himself there. Sorry, was that too fast? Huh? Was that too fast? He was feeling himself so hard, but good for him,
He got into Q2, but friggin' Ocon was out in Q3. I don't know. Ever since he signed for like an extension of his contract, he sucks.
Ocon, I don't even know who Ocon is right now.
Esteban Ocon, interesting. Perez and him didn't get along back in the day. We obviously saw that, but that's okay.
Who doesn't get along with Perez? Seems like such a sweetheart.
Although Netflix vilified Perez. They made Ocon look like this little victim, and then they vilified? What did I say?
I don't even know what vilified means, so just use whatever words you want to, because I'm not that smart.
Vilified? Villainized?
I think villainized is a word.
Vilified?
Hey Google, is villainized a word?
Yeah.
On the website dictionary.com, they say, for villainized, villainizing. To speak
She's having a problem.
Yeah.
Hey Google, stop. Vilified is a word.
Yeah, but I don't know if it means the same
Yeah, it
thing.
does. It means
Want to hear it?
oh, vilified means to speak or write about in an abusively disparaging manner. So he didn't.
So
he
they
didn't use
villainized him.
No.
Vilifies.
Hey,
Hey
Google.
stop.
What did I hey Google us?
Nothing's playing right now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, they made him look kind of bad, I guess.
They made him look bad.
Man. That's how I speak. I'm not a doctor like you.
They just said, "You're not a doctor. I'm a pop star, not a doctor."
I'm a pop
What?
star, not a doctor.
Whatever. So, anyways, yeah, you don't see Lewis up there, eh?
Hamilton and Bottas in 4th and 5th starting. So I guess let's go into this race. So Austrian. So man, Norris and Perez battling at the start. I loved watching that, man. That was so good. I don't know how many they were going wheel to wheel battling. It was so good. And then to end it all off, Norris allegedly forces Perez off the track into the gravel. And I'm obviously torn because I'm wearing, Red Bull colors right now. But
Be
it was just,
impartial.
I don't know. I think racing incident, straight up. Like, it is what it is. You're going wheel to wheel, bro.
I think it was a racing incident, and I said that. But if anybody was going to get the blame, it should have been Perez. Perez went off into, my voice just cracked. Perez went off into the freaking, gravel.
He didn't go off. He was forced off,
He
dude.
wasn't forced off. He
What's your
was driving.
deal?
No, he was They were driving wheel to wheel. They were driving
just
both
being
aggressively.
sarcastic. According to the stewards, he
I
was forced.
felt that it was Perez's fault, not Norris's fault.
I think they were just racing, man, and I think that happens.
But I honestly think that was not Perez's. I did not think that was Norris's fault.
I think racing
Norris
incident.
should not have been given a 5-second penalty for that.
I think racing incident.
we can agree to disagree.
I think racing incident.
Fast forward. Let's just
Whatever.
Go through the
We're not
penalties.
stewards. We don't
Let's
even
just go
need
through
to.
the penalties. I would love to be a steward.
I would hate to
I
be a
would
steward.
love to be a steward.
I would
would
rather
call everybody into the steward's office.
I would love to just.
to meet them. I'd be like, get Daniel Riccardo out here.
I would be like a photographer. I would love to be, obviously, or like a color commentator.
Yeah.
That would be I would love to be a color commentator for F1.
I would do amazing.
Hence why we have a podcast.
Reach. Let's just go through the penalties really quickly.
Okay, so Perez is sent off the track, and Norris is given a penalty for that.
You even said it. He was sent. Oh, never mind.
Well,
I just
that's
proved your point.
yeah.
Dang it. Go on.
So and then I didn't actually write down all the penalties, but
Oh my God. So I'm going to go through these. 5-second penalty was given to Raikkonen for what? Norris.
for being Raikkonen.
So then Perez versus Leclerc. Again, I believe Perez really did force Leclerc out. Perez was driving like a friggin' maniac. He definitely was way too close to Leclerc.
Yeah.
And that 5-second penalty, I 100% agree with. I don't know who the stewards were that day, but you guys did one of them right. And then again, Perez versus Leclerc ×2. Again, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, Perez was just like...
Perez is a little squirrely,
I
man.
think what happened is that the...
Even Crofty said it. He's like, Perez got a little squirrely.
Yeah, very squirrely. He was just... He was trying to he was trying to do too much. He was reaching too far. And I think that the stewards probably gave him another 5-second penalty because they might have realized that when they gave Lando the penalty, they should have given it to Perez. So I don't know if that one was to it out or anything. This is my favorite one. Yuki Tsunoda got a 5-second penalty for crossing the line before the pit lane.
Oh my word, Yuki.
And then did it again.
And they were telling him I don't know who said it. I think somebody told him. No, Helmut told him off. Who is the driver developer, right? Helmut. So he told him off bro, you do it once, okay. You do it a second time. I forget verbatim what he said. But he was just you're an idiot.
Yeah.
If you do it twice like that. It was so bad.
It was so hard to watch.
But then again, a lot of these, ignoring that. Remember, Lewis did that. He ignored that the pit lane was closed and came in.
Okay,
and all
so
that.
this is
these guys do that kind of crap.
I know, and
they're not perfect.
They're not.
We shouldn't be so hard on them.
No, they're not perfect. The reason I say that is because crossing the line, and I looked it up, crossing the line to go into the pit lane, he was in F2. I feel like the rules are very similar, and I get that whole like yellow thing, yellow light with Lewis.
Yellow
Like
leather,
he didn't
red
leather,
leather,
yellow
yellow
leather, red leather. Why are you
Weird.
interrupting my
Sorry,
train of
go
thought?
ahead,
You know
go
I'm
ahead.
easily distractible.
Yellow light, go.
With what was I saying?
I broke her.
Oh my god.
With the yellow light, yeah, you were saying.
So like when like Lewis, I just have to keep talking to get it back. When Lewis like ignored that the pit lane was closed, I feel like that one, although I like ripped on him for it, I was like, okay, that one, you do it once, you like never do it again. In the same race, Yuki crossed the pit lane. Like, why would you do that? You lost 10 seconds. Gone is your race. Bye-bye race. You didn't really have a race, and now you're just in the middle of nowhere without points. And then Stroll, who's been in F1 for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years? Mm-hmm. These Canadians, man. He got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Why?
Canadians never speed.
Yeah.
We're all good drivers.
All right. The 401. So there was, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 penalties that I could count.
So many people got called to the stewards.
Everybody. It was literally like, it would have been me. It would have been me. I had to call everybody to the stewards, and I would have gotten everybody a coffee, and we would have just sat and talked about the rules. Like...
Would have done our podcast.
And we would have done our podcast.
How about we do that? You become a steward, and you call them all in, and we have them as guests on our podcast.
Yeah,
like, without them knowing.
We just like, they don't realize it. That's such a good idea. That's a great idea.
So another interesting thing is like by the end of the race, to my surprise, they swapped Bottas and a Hamilton for once in the guy's life. I don't know. Maybe they got it mixed up. Maybe they thought Lewis was Bottas and Bottas was Lewis.
So.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. No, but Bottas, it seemed, had a little more pace. Mm-hmm. So they swapped him out with Lewis into third.
Mechanical issues.
And they let kind of Bottas kind of roll from there. And then your boy, Lando Norris, chases down Lewis Hamilton and grabs P3 from him, knocks Lewis off the podium.
Which was so brilliant to watch Lando do. It was so nice to watch. I mean,
I think it kind of is like, says a lot about Norris.
He had no pace.
It was such a great representation of like what he's been doing this year in McLaren. Yeah. To catch and pass Lewis like that. And get on the podium and have it's really great to see him just finally get, he's like the proof is in the pudding now. You can see that he's like, really.
I never understood that like phrase ever. I don't get it.
The proof is in the I don't know.
Is it like a magic
no,
like how there's cereal and then there's like gifts in the cereal
the proof is in the pudding means like something can look really great, but like it's like it's right in front of you right there, like you can taste it. It's in the pudding.
Right? Why pudding? Why not like cake or like Pop-Tart? I don't know.
Because that's the whole thing about lines, that the figures of speech. I don't know, people make them up and they're just there.
You're getting so frustrated trying to
explain it. So mad right now.
I don't want you to calm down. I just never understood that phrase. Somebody said that to me.
It literally just means like it's like right in front of you and you can see it with your own eyes and it is what it is because it's right there.
It's like the proof is in the unicorn.
Yeah, there's evidence. Essentially what it means is there's evidence of whatever it is you're talking about. The proof is in the pudding.
The proof is in Area 41.
Yeah. Well, no. No. No, it's not that. Please don't talk about Area 51. I do not want the FBI coming to our house. Anyway, the Google Homes are listening. Please don't come arrest us. Back on to Formula One. So we ended the race with Verstappen
getting the fastest point as well, fastest lap.
Yeah. Verstappen, Bottas in second. Shouts to him. Norris in third. Hamilton fourth. Perez in fifth. Okay. Sainz. Riccardo and Leclerc. Yeah. So shouts out to Riccardo. He had a great race too. Maybe he figured something out. I don't know.
It's sad that we think P6 is a great race.
For Riccardo,
I know.
the way he's been racing, man, P6 is a really great improvement for him.
I know.
And again, Leclerc, man, I've been really hype on Leclerc for this year. He's been racing really well. He's been pushing that Ferrari and getting a lot of pace out
maybe
of it.
if he hadn't gotten screwed off by Perez twice, he would have been able to actually get higher.
But you know, that's part of it too, isn't it? You got to pick your battles, man.
Interestingly, that Perez, despite having 10 seconds worth of penalties, still got P5.
Yeah.
You got to put it out there for the guy. You know what I mean?
It is what it is. He got his penalties.
But McLaren, time and time again, I have to say, is just pulling forward. You know, you have Sainz, Riccardo, Leclerc, but you have P3, Norris, driving the constructors through.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to see that.
Yeah. Norris, I think, is the only driver this year to get points in every race.
Yeah.
Because obviously
so
Hamilton, slid right through like a DM.
And then Max did not finish twice.
Yeah. Did you catch that reference?
Yeah.
Slid like a DM.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And any more thoughts on Austrian for you?
I'm getting ready for Silverstone.